arrived, it's arrived, it's arrived. So, as you might be able to guess, because obviously thumbnail, title, and all of that, this is going to be my House of Flame and Shadow read and vlog. It has arrived. I have been very, very patient for the last like 4 hours, finishing my work day, making sure I was completely finished. Nobody was going to bother me. And it is now 5 o'clock. I'm going to settle in. Actually, I might make dinner first, so then I literally do not need to move for the rest of the night. I'm excited, I'm scared, I don't know what to expect. I'm mainly excited, although, right, and I don't know why I did this, but I was making a quick TikTok earlier, and for reasons best known to my self-destructive brain, self-sabotaging brain, I went to open the final page and read the last page, and then I was like, I saw a word and I had to quickly shut the book, and I was like, what am I doing? Why would I read the final page in House of Flame and Shadow? Why would I spoil this for myself? Honestly, no idea what my brain was thinking other than, let's cause chaos. But yeah, I think I'm going to go and make dinner and then sit down and read for the next, well, it's 5 o'clock now, so at least the next 5 hours, I think. Okay, I'm going to start off by saying now, this vlog is going to be full of spoilers. If you have not read House of Flame and Shadow, if you do not want spoilers, if you haven't read any of the Crescent City series, if for any reason you have come to this video and you are not prepared for all of the spoilers, come back later. I'm at page 100. So much has happened, I don't know where to start. I decided not to tab. I will probably, like on a reread, go through and tab. I just wanted to read on this one, and so much has happened already. So Rune, Baxian and Hunt are in the Asteri's dungeon. They're being tortured by Pollux, the Hawk, and also the Hind. Ethan, Deck, Flynn, and the Fender heir, who is called Sigrid, are trying to find out what's going on with Rune and co. The Hind has just turned up. They're in the meat market. They found Tharion, and the Hind has just turned up. I think she is going to be there being like a good guy. I think she knows that that Rune has told the rest that she's a good guy, but I don't think Rune has told the rest that she's a good guy. So, and Bryce is in Prithian. She's currently running through a tunnel with Nesta. I can see Bryce and Nesta being bezies. I'm really worried about the Hind. Like, I'm really concerned that the Hind is going to stay being evil when actually she should be being good, and she's going to say that she's going to try and help Rune, but the guys don't realise that she's going to help Rune. And okay, so my battery died mid-rant last time, so I just chose to continue reading rather than carry on ranting. I am now this far through. I'm at the end of chapter 21. I'm 225 pages through. So yeah, I have read 225 pages in one sitting. I just have so many thoughts. Ethan's a dick for agreeing to that fight with the Viper Queen, but also I totally get why he agreed to that fight with the Viper Queen. The whole like hologram thing, telling Bryce like the whole story of everything. I have a point, I'm going to come back to that bit, but there's been a few conveniences that are annoying me, like the fact that holograms don't exist in Prithian. There's no technology, yet there's a hologram of this woman who, again, would have had no technology, because where would she have got it from? Like, how is this hologram been made when it doesn't exist now? Like, that technology doesn't exist now. Also, I mean, my friends were just discussing this. In the tunnel, Bryce winnowed Asriel and Nesta over like a chasm. why didn't Asriel winnow? Asriel can winnow. We have seen him winnow multiple times in ACOTAR. And like, I get it that it was to kind of prove that Asriel can power Bryce up and that she can still winnow, but it's just a bit of a convenience that's a bit annoying. Anywho, back to the story that Celine, the hologram, was telling. It kind of answers every single question, but at the same time sort of makes me wonder where the plot in this book is going. So obviously we know that that means that, of course, Rhys is... No wonder Rhys looks like Rune, because Rhys and Rune are some form of kind of cousins, I guess. And again, it makes sense with the discovery at the end of Sky and Breath that there are two different types of Fae. There are the Fae and the Shifter Fae, which again, like Danica had found out. And of course the Shifter Fae are from Throne of Glass world. I do still want to see how Throne of Glass is going to be like brought in, because they were... I really need to reread Throne of Glass. But so they were saying that the Shifter Fae were like involved with the Asteri. So in Throne of Glass, who are the Asteri? Are they the Valg? But I thought the Valg were the... Well, I suppose they would be the baddies. I need to reread Throne of Glass, clearly. It's just incredibly gripping at the moment. I want to see how the Hind can save our gang in the dungeons. I really hope that Ethan hasn't hurt Sigrid, but at the same time I want Ethan to win that fight, because Ethan is a precious cinnamon roll and I do not want him hurt at all. You hear me, Sarah J. Maas. I'm going to go to bed now. I'm going to stop reading and go to bed, because if I don't stop reading and go to bed now, I will finish the book tonight and it will be like 3 a.m. and I'll still be reading, and I'll then kind of slightly regret rushing through the book. But it's so good. I haven't cried yet. I haven't got like too emotionally involved with anything yet. But I'm excited. I can see myself rereading this with like almost straight away. Morning. I realised that in my excitement of giving like my reactions on what was happening in the book last night, I didn't actually tell you what was happening in the book last night. So, quick rundown of the first 225 pages of House of Flame and Shadow. We've basically got three groups that we're following. First of all, we've got Bryce, who's in Prythian with Rhys, Asriel, Nesta, et al. Then we've got Hunt, Rune and Bastian, who are in the prisons of the Eternal City. They're prisons of the Asteri. And then we've got Ethan, Deck, Flynn, Tharian, the Sprites, Mark, who are... Oh, and the Defender Heir, Sigrid, who are in Lunathian and are trying to rescue, or trying to work out basically what's happening and try and rescue Rune. So far, let's start off with Bryce. So at the end of Sky and Breath, she arrived in Prythian. I'm not loving the Prythian scenes. Personally, I'm finding them a little bit... They're kind of taking me out of the plot. It's kind of a little bit slower paced. So Bryce is in Prythian. She's sort of being held like... Well, she's in like a dungeon cell. And then she sees a grate in the floor and she escapes through it, which apparently Rhys knew that she would do. Asriel and Nesta follow her, and then they are walking through a long tunnel for quite a long time, about 200 pages of the book. They then get to the prison, where they discover a hologram from Thea's missing daughter, who basically explains everything that Thea did, how they went to Midgard and what Thea had done and like overthrowing and like capturing the humans, and how she'd got back here. and how the horn is part of the dread trove. That felt very info dumpy. Like it just, I said, I'm not massively enjoying the Prithian scenes. It just feels it feels like we're trying to rush through the Prithian scenes to catch up those characters, to have them to a point where they need to be to fit in with the Crescent City plotline. Which honestly, like, I feel like I would have rather had another ACOTAR book where they find all of this organically before Bryce comes over and says, and like, you know, so rather than her discovering it with them. I don't know, it just feels a little bit kind of, I'm not massively loving the Prithian scenes. We've then got Rune, Hunt and Bastian. They're in the prisons. They're basically just being tortured. Rune and Lydia have communicated once or twice, but Rune is absolutely like hating Lydia. The princes Saedas and Apollon visited Hunt, and again, they confirmed that Bryce isn't in hell, so Hunt doesn't know where Bryce is. And then they were trying to escape, and Rune asked Bastian to bite his hand off so he could get slightly more movement and be able to get a poker and try and break their chains. They did that, and then Pollux walked in, so not helpful. Also, we had a Lydia and Pollux scene, and Pollux said that the Asteri have cured the harpy who Lydia killed, and in a couple of days she's going to wake up. So obviously Lydia is very anxious about that, because if the harpy wakes back up and says, yeah, it wasn't Bryce that killed me, it was Lydia, then her cover is blown. So then we've got the Lunathian gang. So they were in the meat market trying to work out if anyone knows anything about what's happening to Rune in the Emerald City. No, the Eternal City. Ethan wanted to rescue Tharion, who obviously sold himself into service of the Viper Queen. They then get tracked down by the wolves and they kill Sabine. She's not dead. They ripped her face off, but she's not actually dead. So she's been cured and she is back alive again. But Ethan makes a deal with the Viper Queen that if he can win a single fight against an opponent of the Viper Queen's choosing, then she will let the whole gang, including Tharion, walk away for free. So Ethan agrees to that. The Viper Queen was going to get him to fight Ariadne, the dragon, but Ariadne said that she basically didn't want to. She didn't want to kill him. And so the Viper Queen sold Ariadne to someone else. We don't know who yet. And Ethan had to fight Sigrid, the Fender heir. So where it's ended, where I'm up to, he had accidentally punched through her throat with his claws. So I think that's curable, but I don't know, because like I feel like some of the other injuries we've seen, like Rune had his intestines pulled out, Sabine had her face ripped off, you know, and they are curable. But I know beheading isn't curable, but from what I've read, it hasn't said that she's been beheaded. It says that his claws went through her throat. And I feel like it wouldn't really make sense to introduce this character as the new Fender heir just to kill her off 200 pages later. So I don't think she's dead. But that's where I'm up to. I've got a very bouncy puppy who wants to go out. Don't you, little one? Don't you, little one? She's not currently bouncing. Hello. But I'm going to read a little bit, drink a cup of tea, and then I'm going to try and go out in the next 10 minutes or so, because I've got quite a long day at work today, which means I do want to get, like I said, a couple chapters in before I have to start work. Hello. I am at the end of part 1, so I am on page 268. So lots has happened. Bryce is an absolute dick. Like, what is she doing? What is she doing? She just basically pretty much destroyed the prison, and then discovered an Asteri who she let out of like the coffin that it was in, and then wanted to like talk to it. This Asteri is there trying to like kill everyone, and Bryce is like, no, don't kill it. Nesta did kill it, so we know that Nesta can kill Asteri. Bryce has now just made another portal and has left Prithian. Now, I don't think she's going to end up in Midgard. I think she's going to end up somewhere else. My money's on Throne of Glass. But in other news, Ethan killed Sigrid. Now, I just don't know if I get that, because I don't think that makes any sense from a plot point of view, to bring in a new character and then kill them sort of 200 pages later. I'm not sure that really makes sense. I feel like there's something more to that storyline, and yeah, that's kind of all that's happened in like the 20 pages that I've read now. But yeah, I'm still just like in shock about why Bryce is, to be totally honest, being such a dick. Anyway, gonna move on to... Good morning. It is Saturday morning. I would like to try and finish Flame and Shadow today. I am about halfway through, so I'm at page 445. Now, I don't remember where I was when I last updated you, so this update's going to possibly be a little bit unhinged because I have no idea what I have said and what I haven't said. And so our gang are basically all together. Bryce is back in Lunathian, and they've gone to the Avalon Fae. Now, my thoughts with the Avalon Fae, there is a lot of like stag imagery, and which Sarah J. Maas series heavily features a stag? Throne of Glass. So I've got it in my head that there will definitely be a Throne of Glass crossover, and I've got a kind of... In my head, I've got this kind of obsession with there being a Throne of Glass crossover. And if I'm totally honest, I was teensy bit disappointed with the Prithian crossover, because like it barely went anywhere. We were in and out in like no time. So I'd be excited for there to be another crossover. Now we're getting them. I want them. Then the other part is Ethan, can't remember his name now. Ethan has resurrected the Vendetta Sigrid with the help of Hepatia, the witch queen, whose name I've forgotten, and Jessica. But she turned into a Reaper instead. So Hepatia has defected from the witches and has joined Flame and Shadow. And we also have learned that Jessica was one of the original human priestesses who saved the library of Pantheon, whatever it was, one of the original library that the Asteri, were there. So like before the Asteri came, the humans were in charge of Midgard. They had this library, and Jessica was one of the priestesses who looked after it. And she got her magic and her long life from Apollon, Prince of the Pit. So we found out more about Jessica's backstory, which I like. My thought at the moment is, like I said, this was my thought about the kind of 300-page mark, was that all of the plot lines that carried over from Sky and Breath are kind of tied up. And I'm waiting for the Flame and Shadow plotline to start. And I still don't really feel like that plot has kicked in yet. However, I feel like this might be a book that needs 2 or 3 reads before I kind of see where that plot starts. Same with Sky and Breath, where a lot of Sky and Breath, like nothing much really happens. And then by the end, I'm like, oh, actually there was stuff happening the whole time. You know, like the plot was happening, but it just wasn't a true focus on it. My other thought that I kind of want to share as well, Bryce is really annoying me. She's being very reckless. She's kind of jumping in things head first. She's not thinking about anything. And she's kind of... I get why she's acting like she is, but she's acting more like Aelin, and I'm just not really there for it, because whereas, like, I'm there for it with Aelin because Aelin was, you know, what, 16 when... No, she was 19 in Throne of Glass, and by the end she was maybe 20. Bryce is already 25, you know, Bryce is older, she is maturer. And she hasn't had such a hard life. So yeah, I want a bit more of... I want Bryce to kind of calm down and actually act like she acted in book 1 a little bit more, or like at least not with like the depression and everything, but just I want her to be a bit more considered. I am enjoying it. I know I sound like I'm complaining. I am enjoying it. I am now just wanting the plot to like properly kick in. Anyway, I'm going to go back to reading. I want to read... there's a couple of things I need to do in town today, so I'm going to read for like half an hour or so, and then I'm going to pop into town and come back and read all afternoon. Okay, couple of updates. So Rune and Bryce have killed the Autumn King and the other king. Amazing. Such a good chapter. Sorry, I have got Bracken climbing on me. So good. I love that chapter. I'm really enjoying how Rune and Lydia are kind of reconnecting as well. Thank you, darling. And how their relationship is growing. I don't really need your face. No, I don't. Yeah, really liking them. What else has happened? Can you go away, please, Bracken? Thank you. I think Bryce and Hunt went to Hell and learnt that Hunt is like... has been genetically engineered by Apollon and is kind of Apollon's son, and is also kind of linked to the Thunderbirds because the demons also made the Thunderbirds. I love this. I had thought that Hunt was linked to Thunderbirds, but I hadn't thought that he was linked to the well, I'd half suspected he was linked to the demons, but I thought that's not going to happen. But yeah, I'm loving it so far. I'm now at part 3. And right, I haven't heard anyone speak about this, but I feel like there is something important in it. In books 1 and 2, the parts were the different levels of hell. So we started off with like, whatever it was, the chasm, the ravine, the pit, whatever, and we went all the way through. Now in book 3, the parts are the parts of the drop. So we've had the drop, the ascent, and now we're about to go on to, I can't remember what this last part is called. Oh, this is the ascent. It's like the drop, the search, and the ascent. So I don't know if there's got to be something in this. You know, is it that in books 1 and 2 we were going down into like darkness, and now we are coming into the power? Maybe that is because Bryce has come into a lot of her power. So Bryce has now claimed, it's basically what the Princess of Hell told Bryce and Hunt, was that Thea split her power into 3. She kept a third of herself, put it in Star Sword, gave a third to Helena, gave a third to Selena. Selena left and went to Prithian. Bryce claimed her power when she went to Prithian. Bryce is descended through Helena's line, so has her power through Helena's line. So she has 2/3 of two-thirds of Thea's power. Anyway, she's then worked out that the last bit of Thea's power is underneath Avalon. She has claimed Thea's power from under Avalon, and the land has sort of come back to life and is now like a green and pleasant land. So Bryce is now super, super powerful. And yeah, I'm like, she's kind of making Avalon be a sort of haven for everyone who's like anti-Asteri, which I am liking. So I'm very overexposed here. That, I mean, having a spotlight above me is not great, but it helps my reading. So she's gonna like invite people to come in and come to Avalon, I believe. She's just found out that the Asteri bombed Asphodel Meadows as well, which is where Ethan was, and Ethan was helping out there and rescuing people. I am not doing a good job of explaining what's happened. So my thoughts so far, like I said, I'm about 570 pages in. I'm loving it. It's super fast paced. However, the plot is not progressing. We are just now at about 570 actually getting a plot to start. And for me, I wanted that plot to have started a while ago. It's a little bit, it feels slower than it is, because even though the pacing is fast paced, it feels slower because there isn't the plot to kind of carry that pacing on. So everything that's been happening has kind of just been answering questions. And I get that everything's happening to like lead us up to a point where we can start the proper plot of like overthrowing the Asteri. But I was kind of hoping that would have got here a bit quicker. I'm also, now that we've had the crossover of Prithian, I'm wanting more of a crossover. I want a crossover and like actually get the Prithian characters in. I want a crossover with Throne of Glass, and I want them to come in. I feel like Avalon has got a lot of links to Terrasan, and I want to see that. But yeah, I don't know now if we will. But like I said, I'm at the end of part 2. And yeah, I think I'm going to stop reading now for a minute. I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to go make dinner, and I will carry on reading this evening. I've got about 300 pages. Okay, I'm at page 680. We're up to chapter 80. Sorry, Belle. I've got a Bella on my lap, and I've got a bracken here behind the book. Hello, darling. Anyway, so up to chapter 80. Wow. Where to start? So Hunt and Bryce have just gone to the Northern Rift. They discovered that the Harpy had been sort of resurrected as like this soulless zombie, and or actually no, before that, they opened the rift, but rather than opening the rift to hell, they opened it back to Prithian. She spoke to Nesta, and she's taken the mask. She's then pushed her parents into Prithian without explaining to them what's happening, without knowing that they don't have the language to understand or communicate. She has pushed them into Prithian, which I think is such a dick move, just because she had kept Cooper, the boy Emmail from the last book. He is behind at Avalon. There'd been the whole thing where she'd said she wasn't going to take people to Prithian because she didn't want to save a few and condemn the rest. And she's done just that with her parents, who, her parents are probably the two people who would have stood and fought. They are not two people who want to be kept safe. So I'm just like shocked at Bryce for that. She then used the mask to control the Harpy and basically kill the Harpy, like send her back dead. But then Celestina, Isaiah and Naomi have just turned up. They've agreed they're all friends. Hunt has managed to remove his own slave brand and Isaiah's one as well, so they've both got their full power. Things gonna happen. Oh, also Ethan. Well, Bryce asked Hypaxia to make a let's go with cure. Words. So Bryce asked Hypaxia to make a cure for the parasite that is in the water, and that makes them lose their power and through the drop. Hypaxia did it. Ethan has tested it, got like mad elemental power, went to the wolves, tried to tell all the wolves that actually, like, hey, you know, Sabine's a dick. Sabine came out with Sigrid the Reaper and was like, this is my new heir, my niece, who he killed. And everyone was like, what? Fuck you, Ethan. Then the Prime comes out and is like, no. Ethan's my heir. Sabine, fuck off. Sabine kills the Prime. Ethan then kills Sabine and he is Prime of the Wolves. I love Ethan so much. I love him so much. So Ethan's Prime of the Wolves. Bryce has the mask. Hunt, oh, big sigh, Bracken. Hunt is like free. He's got all of his magic. Tharion has spoken to the River Queen and she has agreed to kind of like take people beneath and like look after people. She's going to take refugees. And they sort of came to this understanding that actually she's trying to help people. He's a decent guy. Her daughter showed up and was like throwing a hissy fit because, oh, you married this person. Meh. And Tharion finally was able to be like, I never loved you. Look, I'm sorry I led you on. I'm sorry I did all of this. But it was over 10 years ago. And then the rest of the gang are back in Lunathian, or some of them are in Rune, Flynn and Decker and Lunathian are trying to find like the Ox and trying to sort of like find supporters. Bastian is on Evelyn with Fury and Juniper, and they are taking in refugees. I feel like everything is getting very, very high octane. There is a lot happening, and it's all very exciting. I've got like 100 pages left, a bit more than that, about 150 pages left. It's 8:45. I think I'm going to just finish it tonight. I think my next update is going to be my final thoughts at the end of the book, but I'm going to go back to read. Okay, I'm up to chapter 95. I've got about 50 pages left, but I just need to process this. So, first of all, apologies. There will be spoilers for Throne of Glass coming up. Now, if you don't want spoilers for Throne of Glass, I'm going to keep my hand here while I'm spoiling things. But, we ready? Lydia's elemental power is magic. She literally breathes fire. She is a bitch. She is a queen. What does that make her? A fire-breathing bitch queen! Yes! So, she also mentions Brennan, who, sorry, I'm getting excited now. She also mentions Brennan, who is in Throne of Glass, who I believe is like the original Terrasian king, who is Aylin's ancestor. So, what if, this is an unhinged theory, I have my tinfoil hat on, what if when Aylin fell through all of the worlds in Kingdom of Ash, she kind of, part of her remained, or she remained in Crescent City, and Lydia is Aylin? What if? I think she's definitely Aylin's ancestor, at least. I'm going to stop doing Throne of Glass spoilers now. Okay, spoilers over. But fuck me, that last 2 or 3 chapters. I just, oh my God. Oh my fucking God. Just so much. Lydia is incredible. I love when they all take the antidote and like the powers that come out. Bryce killing a Asteri? What? Like, again, knew it was going to come, but still, what? Still, I want to say, protect Ethan at all costs. I don't want him on this battlefield. I want him home and safe and happy and well and healthy, and I just want Ethan. I love him. I love him so much. If Sarah J. Maas hurts Ethan, I don't know what I'll do. I need to finish this book now. Goodbye. It's 11 o'clock. I have just finished reading. As you can tell, I have been crying quite a lot. So the ending. First of all, Bryce going into the black hole and like killing all the Asteri. Amazing. Shahar powering the like thing and like helping Hunt get to her. That made me cry. Touched my soul so much. I just adored that. And then Jessica giving her life for Bryce. I loved that. But even more, and this is what made me actually sob like a sobbing thing. I sent a photo actually to my friends of me properly sobbing. When Bryce and Jessica are talking in like the Greenland of the dead, and she sees the pack of devils on the hill and Lehab's there as well. Like it just made me cry so much. I love it. I loved seeing at the end how like everybody was happy and like, you know, Bryce had got rid of the Fae monarchies, and she was, you know, kind of setting up like a Fae government, how the Ox was still running, like Ethan was still leading the Wolves but was running the Ox with Rune, Flynn and Deck. I love how Tharian went back to the meat market to find, I can't remember his wife, Sathia, and seeing Ariadne as well. Lydia and Rune, oh, love. So I feel like everything wrapped up very, very nicely. Happy ever after. Also, Pegasi, yes, adorable. I love it. Yeah, I do think everything kind of wrapped up quite happily ever after, which I really like. But I do have like a little critique on that, which is I feel like there weren't really any stakes. So throughout, every time one of our like main cast of good characters died, somebody just resurrected them. You know, Lydia died trying to get to the depth charger after, you know, releasing everyone from prison, and she got resurrected. Rune was basically dead when they pulled him out of the dungeons, and again he got resurrected. Sigrid has died about 4 times, and they just resurrect her. Who else has there been? Tharian got shot through the chest, and again they just resurrected him. Bryce, of course, ended up dead, and yeah, they're just going to resurrect her. And I just felt like I wanted some slightly higher stakes, because when everybody's going to be resurrected every time that, you know, someone dies and there's any kind of high stakes situation, it makes those stakes much, much lower. So I wanted just a little bit more. I wanted some more death, basically. Maybe I'm just a dark, twisted human, but that's what I wanted. I did really like the crossover at the end. And I thought that, like, with Bryce going back to pick up Ember and Randall from the House of Wind, I thought that was really sweet how Nesta and Ember got on really well, and how Cassian and Randall and Rhys had sort of like bonded. And I kind of want to see what happened there. I do feel like the next Akatar book is going to be really exciting. I think we're going to see, obviously, Nesta using the Star Sword, and I think she's going to potentially make a portal to Midgard, and I think she's going to call on Bryce for help. I feel like that we're going to see these two storylines interact again, because I feel like if this was the only point of the interaction, it didn't really need to be done. But yeah, I really loved it. I'm going to go to bed now, and I will tomorrow rate the book. Bella, what are you doing? Where's she gone? Oh, hello, my darling. So yeah, I'm going to go to bed now, and then tomorrow I'm going to rate the book, and then I will come back in, give you my final rating, and wrap up this vlog. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Let's try that again. Hello, it is Sunday morning. I've been for a run, had a shower, which is why I'm looking like this. But I have now thought about House of Flame and Shadow and my thoughts and my ratings on it. So I've put it through Corepile. And before I tell you what rating it has spat out at the end, I'm going to go through the different Corepile sections and kind of explain what I think on each part. Because I feel like that's going to help me explain sort of like where my rating's coming from. So first part on Corepile is character. I should actually say, if you don't know what Corepile is, it's a rating system designed by G at Books Roast. I'll see if I can pop like a link or something up here. And basically you split the book into 7 different sections, rate each part out of 10. Some mathy numbers, do some mathing, and it spits out a score, a like star rating. So, and start off with characters. I love the characters in this book. I've given them a 10. Lydia has become a new favourite character. Ethan, I just want to wrap him up in cotton wool and look after him. Even Bryce and Hunt, when they started to get a little bit irritating, which they did at parts, but they brought it back. So I love the characters. No faults. Sorry if you can hear chewing. Bracken is down there and she has got a bone. So then we go on to atmosphere. Now I've given atmosphere a 9.5 just because I feel like parts of the book, so much of it, like 90% was fantastic and I loved it, but there were just a few parts where I just felt the atmosphere was kind of lacking, particularly the parts in Prithian. I sort of thought that there was just a bit missing. I wanted a little bit more from there. I wanted to kind of see the development a little bit more. So I've given that a 9.5. I've then gone on to writing, and I've actually just this second changed my writing score because I was thinking about something. And I've given writing a 9. So the reason for that is I think the writing is fantastic. Like, Sarah J Maas's writing itself is fantastic. She writes characters amazingly well. But an issue that I had with this book was, I don't know whether it was pacing or plotting, because I always felt like it was very fast paced, but there were points when I was just like, where are we going with this plot? And as I was saying sort of earlier, there are probably 500-600 pages of the book where the actual plot didn't progress. We saw different character arcs and we saw different characters grow and go and do something over here, but the central thread of plot didn't progress. So I've given writing a 9 for that. And then for plot itself, I've given that an 8. So I feel like there is a slight difference here, because for me the writing is the writing style, but it's also like the kind of I guess how the book was written as a whole, and the plot is not only the plotting and like the pacing, but also the story itself. So I've given plot an 8 because, like I said, there were quite a few times when the plotting and the story just sort of didn't really seem to go anywhere. Intrigue, I gave a 9. I read the whole book, all 836 pages, in 4 days. So I feel like that is a fairly quick read for the size of the book. So I was intrigued throughout, but again, there were parts where, because I felt the story wasn't progressing, I was like, okay, I'm not really interested in seeing this part of the story. So for example, for probably the first 200 pages, whenever we had Bryce's POV in Prithian, I was like, ugh, all she's doing is walking through a bloody tunnel. So I just wasn't, my intrigue, I did struggle with the intrigue at times. Then we go on to logic. Logic I've given a 7. So the reason for that is I felt there were quite a few plot holes, plot conveniences, and kind of sometimes kind of gratuitous like fan servicey parts as well. So examples of this, like I said, like with, and again, sorry if you can hear the washing machine in the background as well. It's probably not the best time for me to have decided to film this update. My issues with the logic. So at the beginning in Prithian, we have the magic bean that Bryce takes that allows her to understand languages. We've never seen that in Prithian. We've never seen that kind of magic or that kind of technology. Like, what is that? We could have had Bryce had to learn the language from the characters. We'd have seen more of the characters. We'd have had some character development. It would have been a lot more interesting. Things like, again, in Prithian, Bryce winnows Asriel and Nesta across the chasm because Asriel can't fly it. Asriel can winnow. We've had 5 books in the Akatar world where Asriel can winnow. So why didn't he winnow? Doesn't make sense. Then again, in Prithian, when she meets Celine, and it's like a weird hologram, that's not technology or magic that we've seen in the Prithian world. It didn't make sense. And there's more of this as well in like the actual Crescent City world as well. I can't think of examples off the top of my head right now, but there were a lot where I was like, that's just a plot convenience. That's just, ugh. And I think also some of the sex scenes as well felt a little bit gratuitous and fan servicey rather than adding to the plot. So yeah, I've given the logic a 7. My enjoyment, I've given a 9.5. So the reason for that is I really enjoyed this book, but I feel like I can't give it a straight 10/10 enjoyment because of all of the parts where I was like, come on, why is this doesn't make sense, you know, because of all of the issues that I had with the book. So I feel like 9.5 is fair. So that has spat out an 8.86, which is a 4.5. So interestingly, because I had changed writing just now, it was at a 9.00, which was a 5-star, and it's now lowered down to a 4.5. I feel like that is a fairer rating. And again, looking at my previous stats, so Earth and Blood I loved, that got a 9.79 out of 10, which I think is absolutely right. Sky and Breath got an 8.93, so again a 4.5, but slightly higher 4.5 than Flame and Shadow, and I do think I agree with that. I think I did enjoy Sky and Breath a little bit more than Flame and Shadow, just because of the issues mainly with the logic with Flame and Shadow. However, do I want my enjoyment to be a 10? No, there were parts I didn't enjoy. It might do a 9.75. I've never done a 7.5 before in Core Pile, but I think I'm going to do a 9.75 for enjoyment. 8.89, 4.5. I feel like a 4.5 is fair. Flame and Shadow made me cry, which is why I'm struggling actually with the enjoyment scale, because I gave Sky and Breath a 9 out of 10 enjoyment, Earth and Blood a 10 out of 10 enjoyment. Flame and Shadow, there were 600 pages where I was saying it was about a 4-star rating, but that last 200 pages, especially the last sort of 100 pages with the last battle scene where I was sobbing, that makes a big difference for me. So I'm going to keep it there at 4.5, 8.89. This is, again, looking at the Core Pile ratings, and I think with my thoughts on the 3, sorry about the washing machine, with my thoughts having read the 3 books fairly back to back, this is probably my least favourite of the 3. That isn't to say that I didn't enjoy it. I really enjoyed it, but I think I enjoyed the other 2 slightly more. So that is my rating. That is my final thoughts on House of Flame and Shadow. Giving it a 4.5 stars. I might be sneaky. I might do what I did with Sky and Breath and call it a 4.75 on Core Pile. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I recommend this book. I really recommend this trilogy. I'm going to do a reread of Throne of Glass because I would like to. There were so many hints and Easter eggs that I really want to reread Throne of Glass. But yes, thank you so much for watching this vlog. If you have made it this far, leave me a fire emoji for the fire sprites, the MVP of Crescent City universe. If you like this video, please leave me a like, subscribe down below. You've got all of my links to all of my bookish socials down there, and I will see you in the next one.